What's up guys, I hope you're all well. Welcome back to yet another video and welcome to a very strange starting point for a Fright Nights Construction update video, but a very exciting one nevertheless. Now, for those of you that don't know what that cryptic sentence I've just said really kind of means, essentially anybody who's kind of been dug deep into the Fright Nights news cycle or just Thorpe Park in general will know that Thorpe Park released the initial kind of bout of news and info about Fright Nights 2025 last week, and yeah, there was a very big change. Now, the kind of routine over the last few years at Thorpe Park for Fright Nights is one maze has gone out and a new one's come in, and the general consensus is over the course of Fright Nights' lifetime, more often than not, there's a new maze every year. That is now changing this year. That is completely not happening. We're not getting a new maze. We're instead getting a brand new scare zone, which I think is very exciting. However, since that announcement, there's been some extremely exciting stuff happening with the previous Fright Nights mazes, and I'm going to get into more detail when I get to Thorpe Park in a couple of minutes in this video. Of course, if you do go on to enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe, but I will be covering the Fright Nights Construction from beginning to end. It's my favourite time of year. I absolutely love Fright Nights, and it is so near and dear to my heart, and if you guys absolutely love it too, this is the perfect place to come, hang out and just make speculation theories, whatever you want to do, down in the comments below. So I would absolutely love to hear what you guys think about what's happening at Thorpe Park. So I'm going to stop rambling now, and I think it's time to get to Thorpe Park. So let's go. Okay then, so we've just made it here, had a cheeky little Tesco's meal deal on the way, and yeah, first stop of the video today is going to be survival games. Now, this normally is quite an uneventful maze, especially, you know, considering it's been here a few years now, but this is going to kind of set the precedent for something that hopefully we're going to see more and more of as the year progresses. Now, a lot of you probably know this is a maze I've had a very love-hate relationship with over the years. I think the concept is really strong, and I do genuinely like the maze. I just think it could be so much better, and you know, I said so in my last Fright Nights vlog that I did last year. However, last week, I believe it was last week or the week before, there was wood, or a delivery of wood spotted being delivered to the survival games area. Now obviously there's a long service road that leads down to survival games, so it's kind of hard to see right down into where the work is going to be taking place, but all signs point to the fact that we could be seeing a bit of a refurbishment with inside the maze this year, and like I said earlier on, with the announcement now that we're not getting a new maze for this year, it's going to be interesting to see how much they're going to change the previous mazes. I mean, trailers specifically, we know has been here for years now. That's the longest standing maze we've got at Fright Nights this year, and they continue to update the rooms in there as we saw last year. So yeah, survival games, all the signs of that are still up. You can see some of the construction equipment's laid out on the service road, but as far as I can see from where I'm standing here at the Swarm toilets, there's not really a lot to see for the moment, but the prospect of something happening is very exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it develops. Okay then, so my next stop on the agenda is of course the wonderful trailers. This is kind of historical now at Thorpe Park, not only because it's the longest running maze here, but also just purely from the fact the amount of Fright Nights history that's held within this maze through references, Easter eggs, let's be there, and just, yeah, general atmosphere within the maze. It's an absolute classic for me, and yeah, it's got a beautiful new repainted facade for 2025 with a couple of new posters out the front. Now this is not something that's new, this is something that we've known about for a good couple of months now. Of course there's lots of speculation online about what they could both mean.
Can she get in?
Of course you can. Yeah, so it's an exciting prospect because X is one of my favourite rides, or was one of my favourite rides. And yeah, it would be lovely to see it back, and I think The Walking Dead the ride is very much on its last legs now. But yeah, it's a wonderful new facade. I'm glad that they've painted it up. You know, Traders is a very pretty maze, especially in the dark. You know, Creature Campus, something I'm not really going to touch upon too much. You know, we know it's happening again. They've got a different tagline this time, so it'll be interesting to see how they deal with that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with the show, because I must admit, as much as it is a scare zone and it's kind of more aimed at families, kind of, I absolutely love Creature Campus. You know, I still remember when Amity High was first here, and see that kind of morph and grow along with Fright Nights. It's been really fun, and I love the shows, and they get better and better every year. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's just not a lot to see there at the moment. So yeah, exciting stuff. I think now it's time to head to the newest maze. We're going from the oldest to the newest to Deadbeat. Let's go. Okay then, so we have now arrived over at Deadbeat. This was an absolutely fantastic maze last year and is one of my favourites now at Fright Nights. I really wasn't expecting too much from this maze initially. You know, the way kind of Fright Nights has always worked, in my brain at least, is the first year is always a bit rocky and it kind of starts finding its feet, you know, as the years progress and the older it gets to the park. But this was an absolutely fantastic maze from the get-go. There was some really cool effects in there. The team that actually built the maze did an absolutely fantastic job with the set design, and most of that, at least on the outside, is still up. So you can see that the posters and stuff that they put around the actual facade, the sign, sorry, that's Colossus being really noisy, the sign, the information board, all of that's still up. You know, it's pretty much ready to go. Again, this and trailers, I don't think you're going to see a lot of changes for this year. You know, trailers, of course, last year had some major changes, you know, featuring the Creek Freak room and the Platform 15 room, which is really cool. So I think that's kind of good to go, and I think because this is so new, I don't think there's a lot I would change in it, and it has got some room to grow, so I hope there are a few things that are tweaked. But as far as big changes I'm theorising at the moment that Thorpe might be leading into, I'm not sure this would be a candidate. I think that is going to be more for survival games and Stitches, which we'll get to in a minute. But yeah, Deadbeat is Deadbeat. There's not really a lot to say. Okay then, so I've now made my way over to the Crows of Moorkin Meadow, and this is interesting actually, because it's not very often that stuff gets delivered here normally. You know, it's normally transported here after the fact, and they normally kind of block off the road down there, and it kind of blocks off the entrance either way, so they can kind of have everything in here, and that will normally start to happen around about when the hay bales start to arrive. So yeah, it's just an interesting place that they've just decided to put it here behind some of the Fright Nights fences this year, which isn't a bad thing. It means everyone gets to have a nice little cheeky peek at all the woods for the crows. Of course, this is something that's been here for ages now, and I love it every single time, and it is a scare zone. Now this is kind of probably a good time at least to talk about what's happening this year at Fright Nights. Now, of course, we know we're getting a brand new scare zone, and that's kind of the only thing we're really getting this year. Everyone kind of wrote it off at the beginning and was kind of like, oh, this is just going to be a bit of a dull Fright Nights, but I think this, where I'm standing right here, what this turns into during Fright Nights, I think is the biggest bit of evidence that this scare zone they're building this year isn't just going to be some, you know, just a bit like, oh, someone's jumping out from a bush. Like, I think it will be a very heavily themed experience, and I think it will be on the level of the Crows, to the point where it kind of feels like a little mini maze. This is kind of how the Crows has always felt, and I do think, as much as it's sad we're not getting a maze this year, I don't think this scare zone is going to be a slack job. And yeah, as for what it is, I don't know. I've got a few theories, and I'll tell you in just a second. Focusing on the Crows, I think we could see some changes here this year. Of course, last year we saw the addition of the barn, which was a really cool addition. You were kind of able to choose your way through Moorkin Meadow, and that kind of freedom I really like in the scare zone. And Crows initially was an absolutely great experience, but it did feel very claustrophobic. It felt very, let's all just kind of cram in and walk through on a line. So having that kind of extra pathway to choose, you know, just adds to the I'm trying to say re-rideability, but it's not a ride, so the re-experience ability of the Crows, and yeah, it opened the area up a lot more, and of course the removal of the Store Alive fencing helped that a lot. But yeah, I think we could see some changes this year to the Crows, maybe nothing major, but yeah, it's always one that's easily changeable because it is such a free thing to put up. You know, it's not restricted by being in a building. You know, it's not restricted by necessarily being in a marquee, much like Stitches is. It is kind of, let's set it up and plan it the way we want to plan it, and they can move things around and change it every year, which is a really nice thing. I do think this may be its last year, which is a bit sad to say, but I do think this space will continue to be used for Fright Nights in the very distant future. You know, it's an absolutely lovely space. You know, you're out looking the lake, and it's actually bigger than it looks. So I think this is very much a staple for Fright Nights going forward. Whether the Crow stays here or not, I wouldn't be fussed either way. I mean, personally, I'd like to see something new here, but of course, if it is staying and they manage to do something new elsewhere, then that's also, you know, a good thing. So yeah, not much to report on the Crows, but still very exciting. And let's head to the thing that I think has the biggest improvement, or at least the biggest kind of advancement in construction this year. So let's go. Okay then, so the final stop of the day is at the beautiful Stitches. Now this is something that has gone up very, very quickly, and will always kind of go up very, very quickly because it is in a marquee. Of course, the other mazes have the pleasure of being in a pre-existing built kind of space. You know, Traders is in the old Jungle Escape and I'm a Celebrity building. Deadbeat is of course in the old X extended queue line. But yeah, unfortunately, Stitches in a marquee, so they kind of had to put it out quite quickly before they start work inside. As for what we can see, not a lot. There is a door that's open, but I can't get a good angle on it at the moment. Containers arrived not that long ago, I believe that was last week, which kind of caused a bit of a panic because a lot of people then thought, oh, well, this must be a container maze now. Are they switching it up? Are they making Stitches kind of half marquee, half container? That isn't the case, at least not in my opinion. The containers have kind of always been here. They're normally located out the back of where the maze exit is. So yeah, that's nothing to really panic or get excited about. That is kind of normal. I think this is as perfect as a maze finale gets. I absolutely adore the finale to this maze. You know, it's not your typical chainsaw run out, you know, but it is a very terrifying kind of thing to walk through, especially considering I'm absolutely terrified of dolls. But yeah, I'm really excited to see it come back. However, the big kind of main topic for the video I've kind of been postponing is of course the brand new scare zone. Now there is a lot of kind of talk and a lot of speculation of where we could potentially see this scare zone. The main kind of leading theory at the moment is that it's going to be located in Big Easy Boulevard. Now this kind of makes sense because it has always been a hotspot for Fright Nights activity over the last few years. Of course we've had the Fanta kind of cooperation or collaboration has kind of mainly been situated in that area. So it's an area that's been used for Fright Nights, and I don't think it's going to change this year. I just think it's going to be a lot more heavily involved rather than just a Fanta collaboration. What the scare maze, sorry, I'm stuck in 2024. What this scare zone has in store for us, I have a few theories, and I think the kind of general consensus at the moment is it's going to be something themed to Big Easy, and I also do agree with that, and I think that that is going to be the case. However, when you kind of look at the kind of Fright Night stuff that has been implemented within Big Easy Boulevard over the last few years, even if it is at the Fanta collaboration event, have very much been carnival themed and kind of like psychic and this sort. I'm not going to go out on a limb and like say anything too concrete, but there is a very, very minute possibility that we could potentially see something to do with the big top or clowns or carnivals in general. This is of course something everyone has wanted back at Thorpe Park for a very, very long time, and I'm not going to complain if it does come back. That is kind of a long shot, so I'm not going to go out there and say don't quote me on that or anything, because that isn't officially confirmed. I've just got a gut feeling it could be. They could easily theme it to something to do with Studio 13. That is also a very good option because the director has kind of popped up over the last few years at Fright Nights, particularly in the changes to trailers last year. So seeing a director themed scare zone kind of situated in Big Easy Boulevard would be absolutely fantastic, and that prospect gets me really, really excited. Of course, it could be something completely different. It could be something on its own that we haven't seen existing before at Thorpe Park. but those are of course the fun things to speculate about. But as of yet, there's not a lot of stuff in Big Easy to kind of get excited about. Of course, that's going to kind of grow as time goes on, and it might not even be in Big Easy Boulevard, but all evidence is pointing there because it's kind of the only openish central part of the park that hasn't got a scare zone in it. They can't do stealth, that's got creature campers. Crows is down to the left of me at the moment, so I think Big Easy is the perfect place for one of these. And yeah, I think we could be seeing something very exciting going there this year. Like I said, I know we're not getting a maze, but the absolute effort Thorpe Park put into their scare zones here since they started doing the scare zones in 2020, they've always been top notch. So I'm really excited to see what they do this year, and whether or not there's any changes to the beautiful stitches here. So that is going to do it for today's video, guys. I hope you did enjoy. Of course, I will be covering Fright Nights right up until the opening weekend, so if you did go on to enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe. It means a lot to me, and yeah, hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next one. So without further ado, I hope you have a brilliant rest of your day, and I will see you guys later.